November 1944. A US doctor finds a new casualty. No blood, no bullet. Just a black stain spreading across the skin. He's just discovered an impossible new German weapon. And the army will do anything to keep it a secret. November 16th, 1944. A battalion aid station near the Call River, deep in the hell, men are calling the Hürtgen Forest. It's not a hospital. It's a hole, dug into the German mud, roofed with felled logs and 3 layers of soaked canvas. The air inside is thick with the smell of wet wool, K-ration coffee, iodine, and the metallic tang of blood. This is the meat grinder, and Captain Elias Thorne, 3rd Battalion Surgeon, is the man turning the crank. For 3 weeks, Thorne hasn't seen the sun. He's seen what artillery does to a man's body. He's seen the tree bursts German 88 seconds timed to explode in the forest canopy, raining down a storm of shrapnel and wooden splinters that are impossible to dig out. He's seen trench foot so bad the flesh sloughs off the bone. He's seen shell shock that reduces a 20-year-old sergeant to a shivering child. He's 32, but his eyes are 60. He's working on a private from C Company, his forceps digging deep into a thigh wound, searching for a piece of mortar shell. "Hold him," Thorne mutters, his voice a low gravel. His hands, caked in drying blood, are steady. The patient on the litter groans, a high, thin sound. "Easy, soldier," whispers Corporal Diaz, the chief medic, pressing the man's shoulders down. "Easy." A thwack, thwack, thwack of a German MG-42 opens up somewhere in the trees, answered by the heavier, slower thump of a Browning. 30 cal. Thorne doesn't even look up. He pulls a jagged shard of steel from the wound, drops it into a metal basin with a clink. "Suture," he says. That's when the canvas flap is torn open. 2 medics stumble in, half carrying, half dragging a new casualty. They're breathing hard, their faces pale under the mud. "Sir! Captain! We need you! Now!" Thorne doesn't break rhythm. He's next. "Get him in the queue. Diaz, irrigate this." "Sir, you don't understand." The first medic pants, his eyes wide. It's not a GSW. It's not shrapnel. We don't know what it is." That gets Thorne's attention. He snips the suture, slaps a battle dressing on the first private's leg. "Move him! Diaz, what do we have?" They lay the new man on the adjacent litter, under the single, swaying, bare bulb powered by a coughing generator. The soldier is a private, young, blonde hair, matted with grime. He isn't bleeding. There are no obvious holes in his uniform, but he's dying. His breathing is a desperate, shallow gasp. His eyes are wide, fixed on the canvas ceiling, unblinking. A high-pitched, wheezing sound, a stridor, comes from his throat with every breath. "What happened?" Thorne snaps, his flashlight beam hitting the man's pupils. Fixed. Dilated. "Was he in a blast? I don't see concussion symptoms." "No, sir," says the medic, pulling at his own collar. "We were on patrol, A Company. Just past the river. A mortar came in. A dud. Just pop. Landed 10 yards away." "A dud?" It hissed, sir, like letting air out of a tire. There was this mist, faint, smelled, I dunno, sir, kinda sweet, like burnt almonds. Thorne freezes. His blood runs cold. Burnt almonds. He rips the private's M1943 field jacket open, buttons flying. He cuts away the wool undershirt. Diaz makes a sound, a choked gasp, and steps back. Mother of God. On the private's chest and neck, where the collar of his jacket had been open to the air, there is no wound. There is no blood. There is only a stain. It's a patch of skin, perhaps 8 inches across, that has turned a deep, flat, horrific black. It's not a bruise. It's not a burn. It looks like the skin has been dipped in ink or tar. It's perfectly demarcated, ending exactly where the wool shirt began. Thorne, his mind racing through every textbook he's ever read, every autopsy he's performed, has never seen anything like it. He puts a gloved finger to the edge of the mark. The skin is cold. Not just cool, cold. And it's hard, like vulcanized rubber. Necrosis, Diaz whispers. Sir, it's like he's rotting. It's too fast, Thorne says, his voice barely audible. Necrosis takes days. This man was on patrol an hour ago. He presses his stethoscope to the man's chest, right on the black mark. He hears the desperate thump-thump of the heart. He moves the scope to the lungs, and he hears nothing. The man is gasping for air, his diaphragm heaving, but his lungs are silent. They aren't filling. He's paralyzed, Thorne whispers, a cold dread washing over him. The phrenic nerve, it's shut down. Sir, another voice from the tent flap. A second medic. We got 2 more. Same patrol. They can't see, sir. And their hands. They bring in another soldier, who is screaming, a high, thin wail. I can't see. My hands. God, my hands. Thorne turns. The soldier's eyes are swollen shut, weeping a thick, yellowish fluid. He'd taken his gloves off to work the radio. His hands were claws. From the wrist down, his fingers were curled into rigid fists, the skin blackened and hard, identical to the mark on the first private's chest. Thorne looks from the black, dead flesh on the first man's chest to the blackened, rigid hands of the second. He thinks of the pop, the mist, the smell of almonds. His mind flashes back to his WWII veteran instructor at Johns Hopkins, a man who still coughed up yellow phlegm, describing the first chlorine attacks at Ypres. The new horror, gentlemen, he'd called it, the war of the chemists. This wasn't mustard gas. Mustard gas blistered. It took hours, sometimes days, to show its worst effects. This wasn't phosgene. Phosgene drowned you from the inside out, filling your lungs with fluid. This was something else. This was something fast, something efficient, something that killed the flesh on contact and paralyzed the body. This was something new. Thorne stands frozen for a single, terrible second. The aid station, a moment ago a place of grim routine, has become a laboratory. He's no longer just a surgeon. He's the first witness. The smell, burnt almonds, the symptoms. Paralysis, blindness, rapid, localized death of tissue. His training screams at him. Cyanide. The almond smell is the classic signature of a blood agent, hydrogen cyanide. It stops the body from using oxygen. It asphyxiates you at a cellular level. But cyanide doesn't do this. It doesn't blacken the skin like tar. It doesn't cause instant, spastic paralysis in the limbs. It doesn't blind. The second soldier, the one with the claw hands, is thrashing on the litter. It burns. It's in my eyes. I can't see. Thorne snaps into motion. The paralysis is gone, replaced by a cold, sharp-edged fury. Diaz! He roars, his voice cracking. Masks! Everyone! Masks on! Now! The medics fumble for the M3 gas masks hanging from their belts. The rubbery hiss of filtered air fills the tent. Get these 2 men out of here. Thorne orders, pointing to the new casualties. Not the main bay. Put them in the supply annex. That's our quarantine. Move. He grabs a canteen, pops the lid, and flushes the screaming man's eyes with water, shouting over the man's wails. Private, listen to me. What's your name? H. Harris, sir. Private Harris. I can't feel my hands. Harris, you wiped your eyes, Thorne says, his voice flat, trying to cut through the panic. You had your gloves off. The radio, Harris sobs. I was on the horn. I thought it was just mud. It wasn't just a gas. It was a liquid, an aerosolized, persistent, oily liquid. It stayed on the skin. It stayed on the hands. And where it touched, it killed. Diaz, Thorne yells. Decontamination. We have no M4 solution. Get the lye soap and water. Scrub the entrance. Scrub the floor. And get a message to A Company. Tell them it's gas. Gas. Code vesicant. Tell them to mask up and get the hell out of that sector. Mark the grid. Diaz, his face pale behind the goggle eyes of his mask, nods and disappears. Thorne turns back to the first private, the one with the black stain on his chest. He's no longer gasping. The high-pitched strider is gone. Thorne puts his stethoscope to the man's chest. Listens. Silence. He checks his carotid artery. Nothing. He rips a sirette of adrenaline from his kit and plunges it directly into the man's heart. He pumps the chest. Once, twice. It's like pumping a leather bag filled with sand. There is no response. Time of death. Thorne glances at his watch. 14:22. Less than 20 minutes from exposure. He feels a chilling academic detachment settle over him. He's a doctor. He has a duty to the living, but he has a duty to the dead too, to understand how they died, to give the next man a chance. He turns his flashlight on the black wound. It's not a wound. It's a mark. He runs a gloved finger over the edge. The line between healthy, pale skin and the black, dead tissue is as sharp as if drawn with a pen. He thinks of his WWII instructor. Mustard gas. Dichlorodiethyl sulfide. A vesicant. It blisters. It causes lesions. It takes hours. This is not a blister. This is mummification. Instantly. He looks at Private Harris, who is now moaning, his hands held up as if in prayer. Thorne goes to him. He tries to uncurl the man's fingers. He can't. It's not just paralysis. It's rigor. A chemical rigor mortis, but in a living man. The tissue is dead, the muscles frozen. I can't breathe right, Captain, Harris whispers. My chest. It's tight. So tight. Thorne's blood freezes. The paralysis. It's not just the limbs. It's spreading. The diaphragm. The intercostal muscles. Nerve agent. The words echo in his mind from top-secret briefings he'd barely paid attention to. G-series, Taboon, Sarin. Rumors from the German Chemical Corps. Weapons so terrifying, so impossible, that High Command considered them mutually assured destruction. They worked by attacking the nervous system, flooding it with signals until it overloaded and shut down. Convulsions, respiratory failure, death. But they didn't smell like almonds. And they didn't turn the skin black. Thorne steps back, his gaze sweeping between the dead man on the litter and the dying man beside him. Cyanide. A new, ultra-potent, vesicant. And a nerve agent. My God, he breathes, the words fogging his mask. It's not one thing. It's a cocktail. A diabolical, impossible weapon. The Germans hadn't just used a new gas. They had combined them. They'd created a hybrid that attacked the blood, the skin, and the nerves, all at once. There was no treatment for this. There was no protocol. How do you treat a man who is simultaneously being poisoned, burned, and paralyzed by 3 different agents? He grabs the field phone from the radio operator in the corner. Get me Battalion HQ. This is Surgeon 3. I need to speak to Colonel Vance. Priority. Flash. Code. Gas. The operator's eyes go wide above his mask. He starts cranking the generator. Diaz returns, his face grim. Sir, A Company. They're not responding. The radio's dead. Thorne's stomach clenches. The patrol. The rest of the patrol. The operator looks up, the handset pressed to his ear. Sir? Colonel Vance is on the line. He sounds angry. He wants to know what kind of drill we're running. Thorne takes the receiver, his glove gripping the bakelite so hard his knuckles ache. Sir, this is Captain Thorne at Stalker 3 aid station. This is not a drill. I have 3 casualties, 1 KIA, from an unknown chemical agent. Repeat, unknown chemical agent. Vance's tinny voice squawks back. What do you mean, unknown? Is it mustard? Is it phosgene? Give me something, Captain. Thorne looks at the black, star-shaped stain on the dead private's chest. It's the chemist's signature, left on his victim. Sir, Thorne says, his voice cold and steady. It's all of them, and it's none of them. I'm reporting a new weapon. Something we are not prepared for. There is a long, static-filled silence on the other end of the line. Colonel Vance, a man who survived Belleau Wood, understands only what he can see and shoot. Phantoms like nerve agents and blood gas are things for rear echelon eggheads. Captain, Vance's voice comes back, stripped of its anger, now dangerously quiet. You are making an extraordinary claim. You are telling me the Germans are using a weapon that does not exist. That cannot exist. Are you sure? You're not looking at a phosphorus burn mixed with mud? Sir, Thorne says, his eyes fixed on Private Harris, who is now convulsing, his body arching off the litter, his clawed black hands rattling against the wooden poles. The wheezing sound has started. I am a doctor. I am looking at rapid, localized tissue necrosis. I am looking at systemic nerve failure. I am smelling hydrogen cyanide. And I have a man who died in under 20 minutes. This is not phosphorus. This is new. He doesn't wait for a reply. Sir, I am declaring this aid station a hot zone. I have sealed the bay. I am advising you to declare Grid Square 44 Baker, and everything downwind of it, a chemical exclusion zone. Nobody in, nobody out. Pull A and B companies back. Now, sir, or you will not have A and B companies. Another beat of silence. Then, a different voice. Captain Thorne, this is Badger 6, 28th Division CIC. We're on the line. Your report is being escalated. Describe the ordnance. My men said it was a dud mortar, sir. A pop and a hiss. It aerosolized a liquid. Smells like burnt almonds. It's persistent. It is a contact, nerve, and blood agent. A hybrid. A hybrid. The new voice trails off, horrified. Understood, Captain. Lock it down. No one leaves your station. No one. Not even the dead. We are sending chemical corps. God help us all. The line clicks dead. Thorne drops the receiver. The air in the tent is suddenly, agonizingly, close. He looks at his three medics, their faces obscured by the snout-like filters of their masks. They look like insects. They look terrified. Diaz, Thorne says, his voice muffled by the rubber. He's right. Nobody leaves. And nothing comes in unless it's scrubbed. Get that lye soap. I want a perimeter. I want a decontamination line outside the flap. Anything that comes through that flap, the uniform comes off and it gets burned. Am I clear? Yes, sir. Diaz is shaking. But he moves. What about them? He gestures with his chin to Private Harris, who is now choking, a thick foam bubbling at his lips. He stays. Thorne says, his voice hard. He's our patient. But he's the lesson. Get me an ampule of amyl nitrite. It's the only treatment for cyanide poisoning. A desperate, 1 in a million shot. Thorne cracks the ampule, a sharp, solvent smell cutting through the almond stench. He holds it under Harris's nose, inside his mask. Harris inhales. He stiffens. A single, violent convulsion shakes his entire body. His back arches so far it nearly snaps. And then, he goes limp. The choking stops. The wheezing stops. Thorne puts his stethoscope to Harris's chest. Silence. Damn it, Thorne whispers. He looks at the third soldier, the one who was brought in blinded. He's sitting against a post, rocking back and forth, holding his own stiff, blackened hands, whispering, I can't see. I can't see. Thorne goes to him. Son, what's your name? Peters, sir. Frank Peters. Peters, your eyes are contaminated. Your hands are contaminated. We don't know the protocol for this. We're going to flush your eyes again. It's going to hurt. They already hurt, sir. But it's my hands. I can't move my fingers. It's like they're not mine. They're just wood. Thorne examines the man's hands. The skin is like iron. He takes a pair of surgical scissors and, with all his strength, tries to cut the man's uniform cuff away. The metal shears scrape against the blackened skin with a sound like a file on slate. The skin doesn't cut. It doesn't bleed. It's dead as the logs holding up the roof. The canvas flap rips open again. A runner, a kid from A Company's command post, stumbles in, trips over the threshold, and collapses onto the muddy floor. He isn't wearing a mask. Mask! Thorne bellows, leveling his. 45 at the new arrival. Put your mask on or I'll shoot you, so help me God. The runner, sobbing, fumbles for his mask and pulls it over his face. He's covered in mud, but Thorne can see no black stains. Talk, Thorne commands. What's the status? Sir, they're gone. The runner weeps, his voice hysterical inside the mask. It's not a gas, sir. It's the ground. What do you mean, the ground? The shell hit, sir. The dud. It's in the mud, the hole hollow. It's covered in this oil, this black oil. It's on the leaves, it's on the trees, and the patrol, Lieutenant Miller's patrol. He stops, gagging. What about the patrol, Private? Thorne says, grabbing him by the jacket. They're not dead, sir, the runner whispers, his eyes rolling. They're standing. They're just standing there. Some of them are kneeling, like they were aiming, but they're black. Their faces, their hands, they're all black, and they're not moving. They're like statues, sir. God, they're like statues made of tar. The picture forms in Thorne's mind. A persistent agent, an oil, not a cloud, but a zone, a chemical minefield. The men who walked into it, breathed it in, got it on their skin. They were frozen, paralyzed and mummified, right where they stood. The Germans hadn't just created a new weapon. They had created a new concept of horror. Thorne looks at the dead. He looks at the dying. He looks at the contaminated. This tiny, muddy hole in the ground is no longer a hospital. It is the only thing standing between this new, unholy science and the entire U.S. First Army. Diaz, Thorne says, his voice terrifyingly calm. Get the heavy-duty canvas. The truck tarps. We need body bags, but they have to be airtight. He turns to the blinded, terrified Private Peters. Son, he says, we're going to try and save your hands. It's not going to be easy. He grabs a scalpel. He has to see. He has to know how deep it goes. Hold him down. Private Peters is whimpering, the sound high and animalistic. No, please, don't. I can't feel them. But don't, please. Diaz, hold his arm. Pin it to the litter. Thorne orders, his voice devoid of all bedside manner. This isn't about comfort. This is about answers. Medic, you hold his shoulders. Don't let him move, no matter what. Thorne splashes iodine over the back of Peters's blackened, frozen hand. The brown liquid just beads up and rolls off the tar-like skin, as if it were oiled steel. It won't absorb. It can't. Damn it, Thorne mutters. He takes his scalpel, a fresh Hashon-0 blade, and presses the silver edge against the dead center of the blackened tissue on the private's hand. He pushes. The blade doesn't sink in. He pushes harder. The skin, this carapace, resists. It's like trying to cut into a truck tire. Sir, Diaz whispers, his eyes wide behind his mask. Hold him, Thorne grunts. He adjusts his grip, puts his weight behind it. There is a sound, a dry, tearing squeak, like a fingernail being dragged across a slate blackboard. The blade sinks in half an inch. Peters doesn't flinch. He can't feel it. But there is no blood, not a single drop. The flesh beneath the surface layer is not red. It's not pink. It's a pale, waxy, greyish yellow. It looks cooked. Incredible. Thorne breathes, a cold academic fascination overriding his horror. It doesn't just kill. It fixes the tissue. It chemically cauterizes, instantly. All the fluid. It's just gone. He draws the scalpel in a line from the knuckles toward the wrist. It's like carving old, hard soap. He sees the line of demarcation he'd seen on the first private's chest. But this time, it's in cross-section. The blackness is only a millimeter deep, a surface stain. But the waxy, dead tissue beneath it goes all the way to the bone. It's the vapor, he says to himself. The liquid contact turns the skin black. But the gas penetrates. It kills everything. He moves the scalpel further up the arm, toward the wrist. He's searching for the edge, the place where the dead tissue meets the living. The blade crosses an invisible line, triple. Private Peters's scream is not a wail of pain. It is a raw, electric shock explosion of pure agony. His entire body convulses, bucking against the medics, his back arching off the litter. Thorne jerks his hand back as if he's been burned. Hold him! Hold him! Peters is gasping, his blind, swollen eyes weeping. It's on fire! God, it's in my bones! It's on fire! Thorne stares at the incision. At the point where he'd touched the scalpel, a tiny, bright bead of red blood has welled up. The first blood. He's found the border. And it's not a border. It's a front. The agent isn't just sitting on the skin. It's moving. It's advancing up the man's arm, traveling along the nerve pathways, killing as it goes. What Peters felt was his own nerves dying. Thorne realizes the horrifying truth. This isn't a wound you can debride. This isn't a burn you can treat. This is an infection, made of chemistry. And the only treatment is amputation. Diaz, Thorne says, his voice hollow. Get the bone saw. Sir, we have to take the arm, above the elbow. It's the only way to stop the spread. We have to get ahead of it. We don't have plasma, sir. Not enough. He'll go into shock. He's in shock, Corporal, Thorne snaps. He's dying in inches. Now move. As Diaz turns to the surgical kit, a new sound cuts through the rain and the distant crump of mortars. It's a rhythmic, mechanical hissing. Sht, 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 sht. The sound of industrial sprayers. And footsteps. Heavy footsteps, not in combat boots. Slow, deliberate. The canvas flap to the aid station is ripped aside. The runner outside screams. 2 figures fill the entrance. They are not men. They are monsters. They are clad head to toe in thick, black, vulcanized rubber suits. Their heads are encased in bulbous masks with twin canisters, connected by a thick, corrugated hose. They look like deep-sea divers from a nightmare. In their hands, they carry metal spray wands. A fine, chemical mist of decontaminant, M4 solution pours from the nozzles, coating the tent, flap, the mud, everything. One of them, with a captain's bar painted crudely on his rubber hood, steps inside. His voice is synthetic, metallic, buzzing from a diaphragm in his mask. This station is now under the authority of the U.S. Army Chemical Warfare Service. He points a rubber-gloved finger at Thorne. You, Doctor. You will surrender all casualties, all samples, and all personnel. This is a level 4 containment. You are all compromised. You are not leaving. The CWS captain's metallic voice cuts through the small, terrified world of the aid station. His name, stenciled in white on his rubber chest, is Kross. His eyes, behind the thick glass lenses, are invisible. He is an instrument of a new, cold logic. I said, all personnel are compromised, Kross repeats. He points his spray wand at Diaz, who freezes, his hand halfway to the bone saw. Bag your hands, medic. M4 solution. Thorne steps between them. His own M3 mask feels suddenly flimsy, like paper, compared to the industrial-grade armor of the chemical corps. Captain, Thorne says, his voice low and vibrating with fury. I have a living patient. That man is dying now. I am a surgeon. I am going to save his life. Kross takes a slow step further into the tent, his rubber boots squelching in the chemical-laced mud. The second CWS trooper remains at the flap, a silent, black sentinel, his sprayer moving back and forth. Sss, sss, sss. Negative, Doctor. Kross's voice buzzes. Your station is a hot zone. Your patient is a vector. My primary objective is containment. Your objective is to obey. Containment? Thorne laughs, a short, sharp, incredulous sound. That man's arm is being eaten from the inside out. I found the advancing front. If I amputate above the elbow, I can get ahead of the necrosis. I can save him. Can you? Kross counters. The metallic voice is chillingly calm. You think you can. You, with your scalpel. Kross points his gloved finger at the incision Thorne made on Peters's hand. You cut him. You just exposed active agent to the atmosphere inside this tent. You compromised the air we are breathing. You think this filter, he taps his own canister, is rated for a hybrid nerve cyanide vesicant that no one has ever seen before. You are putting all of us at risk for one man who is already dead. He is not dead, Thorne roars, jabbing a finger at Peters, who is moaning, clutching his burning arm to his chest. He is alive. And he is my patient. He is no longer a patient, Kross says, and the finality in his voice chills Thorne to the bone. He is a sample. He is a data point. My orders are to observe, contain, and sterilize all biologicals. You are not a surgeon anymore, Doctor. You are a witness. and you are also a sample. A sick, cold dread washes over Thorne. Sterilize all biologicals. It's not a medical term, it's a chemical one. They aren't here to rescue them. They aren't here to treat them. They're here to erase the event. To ensure this plague, doesn't spread 1 inch beyond this muddy tent. The men in the rubber suits aren't a rescue team. They're an extermination team. Thorne looks at Diaz. He looks at his other medics, cowering by the supply chest. He looks at the dead private with the black star on his chest. And he looks at Frank Peters, the blinded, terrified boy, who is about to have his last hope stolen from him by a man in a rubber suit. The Hippocratic Oath. First, do no harm. And the soldier's creed. I will never leave a fallen comrade. They slam together in Thorne's chest. I am a doctor, Thorne says, his voice a low growl. He turns his back on Kross. Doctor, I am ordering you to stand down, Kross says. Diaz, the saw, now. Sir. Diaz looks from Thorne to the man in the rubber suit. That is an order, Corporal, Thorne bellows. Diaz, shaking, grabs the steel handle of the bone saw and slaps it into Thorne's outstretched glove. Doctor. Kross's voice is sharp, no longer calm. You are in violation of CWS quarantine protocol. You are in violation of direct military order. Stand. Down. Thorne turns to face him. The saw is in his right hand. The scalpel is in his left. His knuckles are white. You are not in command here, Captain. This is my aid station. These are my men, and that is my patient. You will stand aside, or you will have to shoot me. Kross is silent. The only sound is the hiss of the sprayer at the door and the desperate, wet breathing of Private Peters. Slowly, deliberately, Captain Kross lets his spray wand hang from its strap. He unholsters his M1911 pistol. The snikt of him chambering around is impossibly loud in the tiny, toxic tent. He levels the .45 at Thorne's chest. You have 3 seconds to drop the saw, Doctor. This is not a request. The tent is silent. The distant, wet crump of artillery seems 1,000,000 miles away. All that exists in the world is the black, perfectly round opening of the .45's muzzle, aimed squarely at Thorne's solar plexus. The air is thick with the chemical smell of almonds and the sharp, sterile scent of Kross's decontaminant. 1. Kross's metallic voice buzzes. Thorne's knuckles are white on the handle of the bone saw. He's a doctor. He's a soldier. He's a man with a gun to his chest. He can't save a man if he's dead. But he can't live with himself if he steps aside. His gaze is locked on Kross. 2. Kross's finger tightens on the trigger. He is not a doctor. He is a soldier, and he is following orders. Diaz, behind him, makes a small, choked sound. Sir, Captain, for God's sake. He's not a man. The voice is a cracked whisper. It doesn't come from Thorne, or Kross, or Diaz. It comes from the litter. Private Peters, his head with its swollen, weeping eyes turning blindly toward the sound of the voices. He's heard it all. He heard vector. He heard sample. He heard sterilize. He's not here to help. Peters whispers. Private, stay calm, Thorne says, his eyes never leaving Kross's pistol. He's gonna burn us, Peters shrieks. And in a single, explosive movement of pure, animal terror, Peters moves. He's blind. His hands are useless, frozen claws, but his legs and his terror are strong. He throws himself sideways, off the litter, and crashes to the muddy floor. Containment! Kross roars, his aim breaking, swinging the pistol toward the new threat. Grab the vector! But Peters isn't trying to escape. He's a cornered animal, and he's lunging for the other monster in the room. He scrambles on his hands and knees, his blackened, rigid fingers scraping uselessly in the mud. He lunges past Thorne. He's going for the second CWS trooper, the one at the door, the sentinel. The trooper, seeing the contaminated man lurching at him, raises his spray wand. But Peters is too fast. He doesn't grab. He slams his body into the trooper's legs, wrapping his arms around the man's rubber-suited thighs. He presses his face, with its swollen, chemically weeping eyes, against the trooper's suit. He rubs his ruined hands, his sample hands all over the man's legs. No. Peters screams, his voice muffled against the rubber. You don't get to burn me. You don't get to. Get him off. Get him off me. The trooper shrieks, his voice high and metallic. Agent contact. Kross, I'm hot. I'm hot. The trooper stumbles back, trying to kick Peters off, his spray wand firing wildly, dousing the canvas roof with M4 solution. The standoff is shattered. The crisis is absolute. Kross spins, his .45 swinging in an arc between Thorne, his own compromised man, and the Vector thrashing on the floor. His perfect, sterile, level 4 quarantine has just been utterly and completely breached by a terrified, blind private. His protocol manual has no page for this. Thorne sees his opening. It's not to save an arm, it's to save a man. Diaz! He roars, dropping the bone saw. Morphine! Now, get the siret! Thorne lunges, not at Kross, at Peters. He tackles the thrashing, screaming private, pinning him to the mud. Peters is convulsing, not from the gas, but from pure, undiluted terror. Hold him! Thorne yells, trying to pin Peters's arms. Hold him, damn it! He's in shock. Kross. The second trooper is screaming, clawing at his own legs, as if he can feel the agent seeping through the thick rubber. Kross! Protocol! I'm compromised! Do it! Do the protocol! What protocol? Thorne thinks. Kross looks at his screaming man. He looks at Thorne, who is now a doctor again, trying to administer aid. He looks at the open tent flap, where the contaminated mud from outside is mixing with the chemical soup inside. His pistol is still in his hand, but his authority is gone. The virus is out. The sample has escaped the petri dish. He raises the .45. Thorne looks up, shielding Peters's body with his own. Don't you? Kross doesn't fire at Thorne. He fires 2 rounds, blam, blam, into the gas-powered generator in the corner of the tent. The single bare bulb sputters, sparks, and dies. The aid station is plunged into total darkness. The only light is the grey, miserable November sky, visible through the open flap. Seal it! Kross roars, not to Thorne, but to the outside. He tackles his own screaming, contaminated man, dragging him out of the tent and into the rain. The canvas flap is slammed shut, and Thorne hears the sound of men shouting, of metal stakes being driven into the ground. They are sealing the tent. From the outside, Captain! Diaz's voice is shaking in the blackness. Sir! What's happening? Thorne gets to his feet, his hands feeling for Peters, who is now just sobbing, his body limp. Then, Thorne hears Kross's voice, muffled, from outside the canvas. He's not talking to Thorne. He's screaming into a radio. Badger 6, this is CWS Alpha. Containment breached. I repeat, containment is breached. The station is hot. The agent is unknown and active. We are expendable. This entire grid square, 44 Baker, it is compromised. I am requesting immediate fire mission. Protocol. Scorched Earth. I want Willie Pete on this position now. Burn it. Burn it all. Darkness. Absolute, suffocating darkness, filled with the smell of ozone from the murdered generator and the thick, sweet reek of almonds. Private Peters is sobbing, a broken animal sound. Sir? Diaz's voice is a strained whisper, shaking. Sir, what did he... Willie Pete? He's calling artillery on us? Thorne's mind, which had been racing, goes utterly, terrifyingly still. He knows exactly what Willie Pete is. White phosphorus, artillery-delivered fire. A sterilizing agent used to burn out bunkers, to incinerate enemy positions. Kross wasn't just containing, he was erasing. The men in this tent, they were no longer soldiers. They were a biological error. And Kross was the delete key. He's burning us. The runner, the kid from A Company, whispers, his voice cracking. He's burning us alive. Outside, the shouting is gone. Thorne hears the thud of the last stake being driven into the earth, sealing the canvas flap. He hears the sound of heavy running footsteps as Kross and his compromised man retreat. They're getting clear of the blast radius. Their blast radius. Captain, what do we do? Diaz asks, his voice on the edge of panic. Thorne looks around in the blackness. He can't see, but he knows the layout. A hole in the mud, one way in, one way out, and that way is sealed. They are trapped in a toxic, lightless box, and he checks his watch, the luminous dial glowing a faint, mocking green. In perhaps 90 seconds, that box will be an oven. There is no choice. Masks! Thorne roars, his voice jolting his men from their stupor. Check your seals. Tighten them. Tighter. Breathe shallow. He fumbles for Private Peters, grabbing his arm. Son, you stay with me. You hold onto my belt. Do not let go. The flap, sir? Diaz asks, pulling out his trench knife. We cut our way out? No, Thorne shouts. The gas. The hot zone is out there. The ground is poison. We go out that way. We end up like the statues. Then what? Before Diaz can finish, the sound comes. It's not the high-pitched whistle of a high-explosive shell. It's a softer, heavier, shushing sound. Like a dozen canvas sheets being ripped in half, high in the sky. Incoming. Thorne screams, his voice cracking. Back wall. Everyone. Get against the back wall. Cover your heads. He shoves Peters against the damp, earthen wall at the rear of the dugout and throws his own body over him. Diaz and the other medics pile in, a terrified huddle of men. Helmets down! The first shell doesn't explode, it impacts. There is a violent, wet thump on the roof, directly above them. For a split second, nothing. Then, the canvas roof vaporizes. A light, brighter than 1,000 suns, brighter than a magnesium flare, brighter than the arc of a welder, floods the tent. It is a terrible, silent, white light. It's accompanied by a deafening roar, the sound of a giant's blowtorch. A fist-sized glob of burning, gelatinous something drops from the roof and lands on the litter of the first KIA. The one with the black, necrotic stain. The body, the wool uniform, the dead flesh, the wooden litter, explodes. It doesn't burn. It detonates in a fountain of brilliant, white-hot, sparkling fire. The corpse melts, sloughing off the bones in a torrent of white-hot slag, the sound of it hissing and snapping. The heat is a physical blow. It's not just hot, it's a crushing, peeling, unbearable weight. Thorne feels the back of his neck, his one exposed piece of skin, blister instantly. Triple. The runner screams, as a small particle, a single spark, lands on his gloved hand. The canvas glove disappears, and the flesh beneath it turns to white-hot, burning char in a millisecond. He beats at it, screaming, "Don't touch it!" Thorne roars. "Smother it! In the mud!" The sky is visible now. The grey, miserable Hürtgen sky is gone. It is a ceiling of fire. The shells are airbursts. They are raining white phosphorus over the entire grid square. The forest, the wet, miserable, impossible to burn forest, is igniting. Trees explode, their sap boiling, turning them into 5 0-foot-tall Roman candles. Another thump crump hits the ground just outside the tent entrance. The log supports, the sandbags, they erupt in a tidal wave of burning, liquid earth. The entrance collapses, sealing them in. But now, the fire is inside. They are in a grave. A hole in the ground, sealed at both ends, and the roof is a cascade of 5,000-degree chemical fire. The air is gone, replaced by a thick, acrid, choking smoke that smells of burning chemicals. Thorne feels his mask's filter clog. He's breathing hot ash. We're gonna suffocate, Diaz gasps, clawing at his throat. No! Thorne yells. He looks at the back wall. The dirt wall they're pressed against. It's their only chance. It's the only thing not on fire. Dig, he screams, his voice a raw, broken thing. The back wall. It's a dugout. Dig! Use your helmets. Your hands. Dig! He turns, grabs his M1 steel helmet, and starts attacking the wet, compacted earth. It's like trying to claw through concrete, but it's the only way. Behind them, the tent is an inferno. The heat is scorching the rubber of their masks. In front of them, is a wall of mud. And beyond that, is the hot zone. The place Kross was trying to sterilize. They are caught, trapped between the Germans' chemical hell and the Americans' fiery one. Dig. Thorne roars, clawing at the earth, his fingers breaking, splitting. Dig. Or. Die.